You don't expect humiliation when you walk into a restaurant with your family. You expect menus, water, maybe a wait for a table. Not the kind of silence that makes your children shrink behind you. Not the kind of eyes that size you up before a word is spoken. That Sunday afternoon in Manhattan, Mr. Lawson walked into Hartwell and Company, bistro with his wife and 2 little daughters, well-dressed, calm, polite. And instead of hearing "welcome, table for 4," he heard the hostess turn sideways and whisper to the waiter, "Not them. Tell them we're not seating right now." The waiter froze, looked conflicted, but obeyed. He walked up to the family at the door and, without even pretending to hide his tone, said, "We're not serving walk-ins at the moment. You'll have to leave." Mr. Lawson pointed to 3 empty tables by the glass window. "But those are open." The hostess cut in from behind the podium, fake smiling. "They're reserved. Please exit." 2 white couples walked in right behind them, not even 2 minutes later. And before Mr. Lawson could guide his kids fully out the door, he heard, "Welcome. Table for 2? Right this way." His youngest daughter whispered, "Daddy, did we do something wrong?" That question, not the insult, was the wound. Mr. Lawson turned back. "So they can walk in, but we can't? Is there a reason?" The hostess folded her arms. "Sir, I am not required to explain our seating decisions. Please don't make a scene." Employees peered from behind the counter. Other diners pretended not to look, but they were listening. All of them. A security guard stepped forward, as though Mr. Lawson had raised his voice. He added, "Sir, you need to leave before this becomes a problem." His wife placed a hand on his arm, not out of fear, but out of the pain of another public dehumanizing moment. They were ushered backwards, not in words, but in posture, until they stood just outside the glass. Beyond that glass, another couple was being handed menus and the seats they were denied. Mr. Lawson pulled out his phone, not to record, but to send a single email. No yelling, no threats, no cursing, just typed words. His wife looked at him, confused. He only said one thing: "Watch what happens next." 33 minutes later, a black sedan parked outside. A tall, clean-cut man in a Navy suit stepped out and walked inside like the building belonged to him. The staff stiffened. The hostess, the one still grinning in entitlement, immediately adjusted her hair and posture. The man didn't sit. He didn't ask to be welcomed. He stood in the center of the floor and said, "Where's the manager?" The room paused. Forks midair, chairs frozen, breathing changed. Because they all recognized something. This was not a customer. This was someone who did not ask permission to talk. This was someone with power. And no one in that room yet knew. He was the CEO of the entire company. The floor manager rushed forward like she was on trial. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome. We didn't know you were coming." He didn't look at her. His voice was even, calm. The kind of calm that means danger. A family was turned away here 30 minutes ago. Who made that call? The hostess. The same one who smiled to the insult. Stepped forward trying to own it before someone blamed her. "Yes, sir. I asked them to leave because we were full. We had reservations." She pointed to the window tables, all now filled with fresh water, menus, and laughter. He lifted one eyebrow. "You seated 3 walk-ins after them." Her mouth opened, then shut. He turned to the manager. "Is this standard, or is this bias?" The manager stammered, "Sir, I didn't see the interaction fully, but..." "No." The CEO cut him off. "You saw it. You just didn't stop it." Every employee froze. The CEO pulled his phone from his suit pocket, tapped once, then said, without raising his tone, "Effective immediately, you," points the hostess, "and you," points the manager, "are terminated. Collect your belongings and leave the premises now." Gasps. No side meeting. No HR mercy. No second chance. The hostess burst into defensive pleading. "You can't just... I've worked here 5 years. You can't fire me like..." "I can. And I have." She looked at the diners, to the staff, for support. No one blinked. The manager tried to negotiate. "Sir, please, at least allow a review, You preside over discrimination in my brand. You don't get to review anything." He stepped to the center of the restaurant like a judge delivering verdict. This company will not be known for insulting black patrons or any patron under my name. He turned to a nearby server. You escort the family waiting outside back in, then comp their entire meal and send a written apology through corporate. The server rushed. 2 minutes later, Mr. Lawson walked back inside, not as a rejected man, but as the man whose quiet dignity moved the corporation. The CEO looked directly at him, not like a savior, but like a man correcting his house. This should never have happened under our roof. It won't happen again. The other diners watched, ashamed of their earlier silence. Mr. Lawson's wife squeezed his hand. He didn't gloat. He didn't smirk. He simply nodded, the way a man nods when justice shows up without him having to scream for it. The hostess passed him on her way out, face wet, voice shaking. As she realized she wasn't the victim of the moment, she was a lesson. Later that night, a video clip from another branch of the same chain leaked online, showing a different staff member doing the exact same thing to another black couple. And the internet began to ask a disturbing question. Was this really an isolated incident? Or is the problem bigger than one restaurant? That night, the CEO sat alone in his glass wall office, lights of New York glittering behind him. His phone buzzed, a forwarded link from legal. Subject, urgent, viral clip, another location. He tapped it. A grainy cell phone video filled the screen. Same uniform, same chain, different city, different staff. A young black couple stood at the host podium. Host, we're not taking walk-ins from your group. It causes problems. Man, recording, what do you mean our group? Host, sir, I'm not debating you. It's company policy. Behind them, 3 white customers were being walked to a table without a reservation. The woman filming whispered, voice shaking. They really said it on camera. Your group. The clip cut off, but the hashtags have done their work. Hashtag restaurant bias, hashtag caught on camera, hashtag corporate accountability. Within 4 hours, the repost hit 2.1 M views. Within 7 hours, it reached morning news desks. Within 12 hours, sponsors began emailing. We need an immediate corporate statement on whether this is systemic. Is this a training issue or a cultural one? Brand trust is at risk if response is not decisive. The CEO leaned back in his chair, jaw tight. This was no longer a personnel issue. It was a corporate infection. He picked up the phone. Schedule an emergency board session at 8 a.m. Full attendance. No excuses. The conference room was already buzzing when he walked in. Board members with tablets open to news headlines. PR team whispering strategy. Legal counsel scrolling through social reactions in real time. He stood at the head of the table. We are not debating damage control. We are cutting out the disease. A board member raised a hand. Are you sure we need drastic action? It could be training. He interrupted. When a cancer shows in 2 organs, you don't send it to seminar. You operate. Silence. He laid down 2 folders. Folder A. Immediate firings, public apology. Civil rights partnership. Mandatory reform across chain. Folder B. Internal review. Quiet settlements. No public stance. He slid them to the center. You choose. But understand, whichever we choose will define what this brand is. Hands hovered, tension thick enough to hear wristwatches ticking. Before anyone reached for a folder, the CEO's assistant burst in, breathless and pale. Sir, the family from last night, they just went live on national TV. Every head snapped up. This was no longer a private decision. The world was watching. National TV, live broadcast. The boardroom monitor flickered as the assistant streamed the live interview. The black father from the restaurant sat in a studio chair, his wife holding their son quietly beside him. The host asked gently, Host, why did you decide to speak publicly today? Father, because people want to act like this only happens in shadows until a camera catches it. The camera cut to a clip, the exact moment the waitress denied them service. No music, raw sound, raw humiliation. Then the father looked directly into the lens. Let me be clear, we were not asking for free food. We were asking for equal treatment. There is a difference. The feed returned to the newsroom panel. Serious faces. Anchor. Civil rights attorneys are already in contact with the family. Public backlash is growing by the hour. The company has not yet released a statement. Back in the boardroom, the CEO slowly turned off the screen. He faced the table. This is no longer about optics. This is ethics. A board member whispered, "If we fire them all, we admit guilt." The CEO answered without blinking. "If we don't, we admit approval." He pushed folder forward again. No one spoke. Then Marcus Sr., board member, slid it toward himself, signed the bottom of the resolution page. Then Rebecca. Then another. Signatures landed like hammer strikes. When the last pen lifted, the CEO called HR on speaker. Effective immediately. Terminate every on-duty employee involved in both incidents. Issue a public apology by noon. Announce a national anti-bias reform program within 30 days. Silence exploded into motion. Phones dialed. Emails fired. Teams sprinted. The CEO leaned back. Then something unexpected happened. Marcus looked at him with a thin, hard stare. You realize fixing culture means starting higher than waiters. The room froze. "You're implying this goes above store-level staff?" the CEO asked. Marcus didn't blink. "I'm saying your district directors approved those policy notes about handling certain groups." "I've seen them." The CEO's jaw set. Then the purge won't stop at waiters. As the CEO left the boardroom, his phone buzzed again, an unknown number. He answered, a calm male voice. "You fire the small ones first. Interesting choice." "CEO, who is this?" Voice. "Someone who knows your company's internal emails are already being compiled for class action filing." The line clicked dead. The CEO stopped in the hallway, breathing slow, heavy. This wasn't over. This was the beginning. The first notification hit the CEO's phone at 11:47 p.m. Then another. Then 11 more, rapid, urgent, relentless. He sat alone in his glass-walled office on the 27th floor overlooking Manhattan. The building was silent. The city alive beneath him. Horns, lights, movement. But in that office, there was only the pulse of incoming messages vibrating against mahogany. He finally turned the phone over. 13 emails, all labeled anonymous legal drop. He opened the first one and froze. Not rumors, not hearsay, receipts, screenshots of internal memos, Slack threads from regional managers, PDF training instructions marked confidential, lines that were cold, calculated, and unmistakable, discouraged seating of certain families in prime view sections, delay service until they self-remove, no confrontation. If questioned, cite capacity or kitchen delay. Avoid explicit denial. We must protect brand optics from uncomfortable demographics during peak hours. His grip tightened. This wasn't one restaurant. This wasn't one manager. This was policy. He scrolled further. Attached were signatures, not of waiters, not of hosts, but of upper executives, VPs and regional directors he had trusted for years. He leaned back slowly, jaw tight, breath controlled. The gravity of episode 1, what he thought was a contained disgrace, was now exposed as a systemic rot. And then the phone rang. Caller ID, Prime News, Executive Desk. He answered, voice flat. "Go ahead." A calm journalistic voice replied. "We have obtained internal documents indicating discriminatory operating directives issued by your leadership team. We are airing the full investigation in 3 hours before we broadcast. Would you like to provide a statement on behalf of the corporation?" His silence was heavy, not from fear, but from fury. He ended the call without answering. The CEO sat with the internal counsel and PR director after firing the staff. They were drafting the official public statement. "We moved quickly," the PR director said. "We framed this as an isolated incident. One location, one failure. You showed leadership. That's our narrative." The CEO held her gaze without blinking. "And what if it's not isolated?" he asked. PR laughed softly. "Then we make it look isolated." His eyes narrowed, not at her, but at the assumption. That was the first crack. He forwarded the leak to his private legal team. Subject line, "We are compromised," before he could type another word. New email, same anonymous sender. Subject, "You haven't seen everything yet." He opened it. Video files, meeting recordings, executives laughing during policy calls. A transcript at the top read, Executive 1, "If we seat them early evening, our high-end crowd won't come." Executive 2, "Then slow walk them until they leave." Executive 1, "Good. Do it quietly. We can't afford a scandal." He closed his eyes and exhaled once, control lethal. This time, private number. He answered. A voice distorted through a modulator spoke. "They think they buried this. They didn't. You fired the waiters. But the wolves are still inside your house. I'm giving you the evidence before the world sees it. Do the right thing before the cameras force you." Click. Call ended. His pulse didn't race. It slowed. He stood, walked to the window, and stared over the city lights like someone staring at a battlefield before the first shot. He now knew what episode 2 really was. Not cleanup, but exposure. And exposure always demands a cost. Employees crowded around televisions broadcasting the teaser announcement. Tonight, a national expose. Discrimination directives inside a billion-dollar dining brand. Murmurs. Panic. Eyes wide. Then the CEO walked through the lobby. Calm, unreadable. Everyone turned toward him. Not one person asked a question out loud, but you could feel the question press against the air. Is this true? He didn't stop walking. He didn't blink. His war had just begun. Inside conference room A, the top executives were already gathered. Sweating, arguing, denying responsibility. This is taken out of context. It wasn't meant literally. We'll say it was a draft policy. We delete everything before legal sees it. They froze when the CEO entered. No greeting. No small talk. He placed his phone on the table, pressed play. The recorded executive call, the one with laughter and explicit discriminatory directives, filled the room. No one breathed. No one blinked. When the audio ended, he looked up slowly. The room waited for fury. But what they got was worse. A cold, surgical calm. Every one of you who signed or enforced those policies, you are finished. And I won't wait for the media to do it for me. The executives began talking over each other. "Wait, we didn't. You can't. This will destroy." He raised a finger, and they fell silent instantly. "You destroyed this company long before the cameras did." Cut to black. He didn't wait for lawyers. He didn't wait for the news broadcast. He moved first. By 9:40 a.m., a live internal company, wide meeting was scheduled. Mandatory attendance. No excuses. For 1,000 employees across the nation joined the stream. Every regional office. Every district manager. Every corporate head. No one knew why. Only that the CEO himself had summoned it. The executives from conference room, the ones in the leaked recordings, were seated front row in the headquarters auditorium. Pale, sweating, whispering lies to each other that they didn't even believe. The lights dimmed. The CEO walked on stage with no script, no teleprompter, and no smile. He stood at the podium for 3 silent seconds, scanning the faces, in person and behind thousands of cameras. The silence itself was a verdict. Then he said evenly, "I assumed I was fixing a local problem. I was wrong." Murmurs rippled across screens and rows. This was not a waiter's mistake. This was not a manager's judgment call. We have discovered signed directives from corporate leadership instructing discrimination by design. Gasps. Hands shot to mouths. HR reps froze. But he continued with surgical precision, not emotional, not shaky, not theatrical. Controlled fire. And because the public will see this in a matter of hours, I will not wait for reporters to tell this company who we are. I will define it now. He turned. A massive LED screen behind him illuminated, displaying redacted documents, signatures, timestamps, memos. All real, all linked to the executives seated behind him. There was no denial left. Employees watching from around the country covered their mouths. Some whispered, "Oh my God." Others shook their heads in disgust. Some cried, not from surprise, but from recognition, because they had seen symptoms. Now they saw the architects. Then came the moment. The CEO faced the front row. Effective immediately, Rebecca Sloan, Timothy Price, Harold Knox, Evelyn Dorsey, and Charles Niles. You are all terminated for gross misconduct, policy corruption, brand sabotage, and intentional discrimination directives. Security stepped forward quietly. The executives began to stammer. This is illegal. You can't do. We were protecting the brand. He didn't let them finish. You weren't protecting the brand. You were poisoning it. The auditorium burst, not in applause, but in something louder. Collective relief mixed with righteous shock. Security escorted the executives out, on camera, visible to every employee on the network. No dignity, no negotiation, no protective phrasing like resigned, fired, publicly, irreversibly, for once. Humiliation landed where it belonged. At 5:59 p.m., 1 minute before the national news expose aired, the company beat them to it. A full official statement went live across every platform. We discovered and terminated corporate leaders responsible for discriminatory directives. They do not represent our values, and they no longer represent our brand. No excuses, no PR spin, names listed, dates listed, fired publicly. When the news program aired at 6 p.m., what would have been a corporate ambush became a corporate confession backed by action. News anchors were stunned, not just by the documents, but by the speed and severity of the CEO's response. Public reaction flipped instantly. Finally, a company that fires the right people. This is how leadership should look. You don't wait to be exposed, you self-clean first. The CEO had done what no one expected. He didn't wait to defend. He attacked corruption himself. 2 days later, he walked back into the headquarters restaurant dining area, the same kind of space where the story began, and announced new binding policies in front of press, staff, and the family from beginning invited as honored guests. Discrimination is not a PR risk. It is a moral failure. And this company will not outsource morality to the media. We will police ourselves. The room stood in silent agreement, not performative, but reverent. He turned to the family and said publicly, sincerely, you were disrespected inside a building with my name on it. That responsibility is mine, and so is the correction. The father nodded once. That was enough. 3 weeks later, the dust seemed to settle until the CEO received another package at his home doorstep. No return label, no note, just one USB drive and a handwritten card with 6 words. You clean the surface, not the core. He closed the door, turned the drive in his hand, knowing exactly what it meant. This wasn't over. There was someone still inside, higher, smarter, quieter, someone who didn't get caught in the first purge.